Hello there and welcome back to Star Wars Nerdiness. Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 1 has finally come to an end, so I'm going to give my full thoughts on the finale and the full season as a whole. Now, first, I'm going to give my full thoughts on the finale. I think the finale of The Bad Batch Season 1 is a very strong episode. It's one of my favorite episodes, not quite top 5, but it still is a very strong episode. And as a finale, it works well enough. It's not like the greatest finale to any Star Wars show, but it still is, like, it's not Mandalorian Chapter 16, but it still is a very solid finale to Season 1. And as a finale to Season 1, it works very well. If this was a finale for the whole show, we'd have some problems, but it's not. So again, for what it is, I'm happy with what we got. Now, what I love about this episode is it forces the Bad Batch and Crosshair into a situation where they have to work together, and this leads to a lot of great character moments. For example, a lot of the Bad Batch members actually end up revealing like their full thoughts through all of this. Like there's a moment where Wrecker kind of blows up at Crosshair after all of this. We even get to see a bit of development in Tech, which was interesting. So yeah, I'm very happy that we got a finale that honestly gave us a lot of moments where our characters just kind of got to fully dwell on everything that's been going on in these past 15 episodes. And I really like that this episode is kind of a survival like type episode, kind of reminds me of Titanic in a way where like they're in this like giant city that's like sinking and they have little time to escape. So it has a lot of intense moments. So I really appreciate that too. However, if I'm going to be completely honest, I kind of wish episodes 15 and 16 were the same episode, just like a 40-minute finale. Because honestly, episode 15, at least in my opinion, is much better than episode 16. It had so many intense moments. It was just my second favorite episode right behind the 70-minute premiere. It was just such a fantastic episode. And honestly, if we got those really interesting character moments with Hunter and Crosshair, pairing that up with this, survival to get off Kamino story, I think I would have been just a bit more satisfied than I was because this episode left me a tiny bit underwhelmed, even though I did really enjoy the episode. And now I'm going to give my full thoughts on the first season of The Bad Batch. What's interesting is that The Bad Batch feels like the end of an era as well as the beginning of a new one, which is basically what it is. Like, that's literally the time frame it's in. Because it feels like another finale to the Clone Wars, just focusing on The Bad Batch, kind of fully ending everything in the series. But then it also kind of feels like a start, to a new adventure, because it is. It's the start to the new story with The Bad Batch. And honestly, if I'm going to be honest, and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I honestly prefer Star Wars The Bad Batch to Star Wars The Clone Wars. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but here's why I basically prefer this show just a little bit to The Clone Wars. Obviously, The Clone Wars has many better episodes, many better moments, but they've also got, arcs that I'm not a huge fan of. I love The Clone Wars as a whole. It's just what Bad Batch does a little bit better is I find this conflict a little bit more interesting than the Republic versus Separatists. I'm very interested in the whole, galaxy changing. And this basically feels like Clone Wars, except it focuses on the same characters all the way through, and it's much more consistent in how good it is. In just this first season, I honestly was much more invested than I was in most of the Clone Wars, even though I love the Clone Wars. And the Siege of Mandalore and like the Umbara arc and stuff like that, and the Fives arc, I think are better than anything from The Bad Batch. But The Bad Batch is more consistently good, and a show I think just has a better rewatchability factor as well. I know some people took issue to there being a lot of cameos, but for the most part, I feel like they actually handled the cameos really well. Like for example, if you're gonna have a bounty hunter reveal to be after Cad, after Omega, and then have also another bounty hunter that comes up and catches Omega, and then those two bounty hunters face off, why not just for fun have Cad Bane and Fennec Shand show up? Like it's just more fun that way. I also love the inclusion of Captain Rex in the series. I mean, someone has to get the chips out of the Bad Batch inhibitor chips, and why not have it be Rex? Like, it makes complete sense, and that's why I think he's easily my favorite cameo. Also, out of those characters, he's my favorite, so, it works out pretty well. Honestly, Crosshair easily became, and very quickly became, one of my favorite Star Wars villains, and it's because he's so well fleshed out, especially in the 15th episode, especially knowing that he, removed his chip and still chose the Empire, and how he kind of feels betrayed that his brothers left him. It's just so interesting, and honestly kind of makes you feel sorry for him at points in the show. He's just definitely a spotlight in the show. But I think the thing that makes me like this, the thing that makes this my favorite animated show, I still prefer Mando by quite a bit, but what makes this my favorite animated show of all time is the family element of it. Family is very important in Star Wars, and I love the relationship between the Bad Batch and Omega. I was a little worried in the first few episodes that it was too similar to The Mandalorian, but definitely it definitely stands on its own, and it's definitely really heartwarming. I honestly love the relationship the Bad Batch has with Omega, and I'm very excited to see it grow and develop in season 2 of the Bad Batch. So yeah, these are my thoughts on the first season of Star Wars: The Bad Batch. I honestly loved it much more than I thought I would. I mean, I remember just a year ago when this was announced, I was like, out of all the ideas for a Star Wars show, this is what Lucasfilm went with. But this turned out to just be, and I mean, like when I saw the trailers, I thought it was actually going to be pretty good, but it just absolutely blew me away. I honestly love it, and I can't wait for season 2. I'm so glad they confirmed season 2, and I am so excited to see where the series goes in the future. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, first of all, why are you watching this? Because this is very spoilery. But if you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend it. So I'm giving The Bad Batch like a 9 out of 10 on a Star Wars level. It is so good. And that's what I'll have to say. Thank you all for watching, and may the Force be with you always.